Let's talk about one of the most powerful and honestly one of the toughest internal battles we all face. We're going to dive into some ideas from Ryan Holiday, and the big one is this: your greatest obstacle in life. It isn't out there somewhere. It's actually a lot closer to home.
So I'll just ask you straight up, who is your worst enemy? I mean, really think about it. When you look back at the biggest challenges you've faced, the goals you didn't hit, who or what was really standing in your way?
Because the answer, most of the time, isn't some rival at work or a bad boss or just bad luck. The most relentless, most cunning enemy you will ever have to deal with, well, it already lives inside of you. It's with you every single day.
And that enemy is your ego. Now, hold on, we're not talking about the complex Freudian definition here. We're talking about ego in the way we all know it, that unhealthy, inflated belief in our own importance. It's that little voice that tells you you're better than everyone else, that you deserve more, and it's the thing that completely warps your sense of reality. So here's how we're going to break this down. We'll look at how this enemy, the ego, attacks us at 3 super critical moments in life. First, during the climb, when we're full of aspiration. Then, at the very peak, when we found success. And finally, in the valley, when we face failure. And then we'll talk about the choice you get to make in all of this.
All right, let's start with aspiration. This is when you're hungry. You're setting out to make your mark on the world. But this is exactly where ego can trip you up before you even get started, tempting you with shortcuts and making you crave praise before you've actually done the work.
You see, right at this stage, you face a huge fork in the road. The brilliant military strategist John Boyd framed it perfectly. Do you want to be someone? Chase the fancy titles, the recognition, the appearance of being important? Or do you want to do something, to focus on the actual work, the craft, and truly earn your way up?
That question, to be or to do, it just cuts right to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? The to-be path, that's all ego. The to-do path, that's purpose. And it's a choice we all have to make, again and again.
So how do you make sure you're on the to-do path? Well, one really powerful way is what's called the canvas strategy. The idea is, instead of trying to be the famous artist right away, you become the canvas that lets other people paint their masterpiece. You find people who are ahead of you, and you help them, you make them look good. You do the unglamorous grunt work that nobody else wants to do. This is exactly how people like Benjamin Franklin or the legendary coach Bill Belichick started out. They put their ego aside, made others successful, and in doing so, they quietly built their own path to greatness.
And this brings us to another key difference: passion versus purpose. Passion is all about me, me, me. It's hot-headed, it's emotional, and a lot of times it's just covering up our own weaknesses. But purpose, that's about the mission, the goal. It's calm, it's realistic, and it's driven by discipline. Just think of someone like Eleanor Roosevelt. She wasn't fueled by some frantic passion, but by a steady, quiet, and absolutely unbreakable sense of purpose.
Okay, so let's fast forward. Let's say you did the work. You've reached the top. You are a success. This is where the ego becomes more dangerous than ever, because now its job is to help you lose everything you've worked for. It starts whispering that you're special, that the rules don't apply to you anymore.
The legendary CEO Harold Janine absolutely nailed it. He said, "Egotism is a disease." And it's a tricky one, because the person who has it doesn't feel sick. They feel better than ever. They think their arrogance is confidence, their delusion is vision. It's a poison that works slowly.
And if you want the ultimate cautionary tale, look no further than Howard Hughes. The man was a legitimate genius, an incredible pilot, a brilliant innovator, a visionary filmmaker. He had all the tools in the world, but his ego, his out-of-control ego, destroyed everything he built.
I mean, just look at this pattern of destruction. His ego made him ignore any and all advice. He poured a fortune into the famous Spruce Goose, this massive plane that flew for a grand total of 1 mile. 1! He took over a major movie studio and just ran it straight into the ground. His story is the perfect example of how ego can turn absolute genius into a massive liability. It's like he was building an empire with one hand and tearing it down with the other.
Hughes fell into every single one of the classic traps of success. He started believing his own hype. He felt totally entitled. He became paranoid that everyone was out to get him, and he started caring way more about his own credit than about the mission. You see, the point is, success itself doesn't corrupt people, ego does.
Which brings us, inevitably, to our last stage, failure. Because let's be real, no matter who you are going to stumble. You're going to fall. And in those moments, ego becomes the enemy of your recovery. It's the thing that keeps you down.
For this,
Let's look at the incredible story of Jackie Robinson. We all remember him for his unbelievable talent, right? But his real test, the thing that made him a legend, wasn't about hitting a baseball. It was about his almost superhuman ability to control his response to constant, vicious, hateful attacks.
This is what his manager Branch Rickey told him from the start. He said, "I'm looking for a ball player with the guts not to fight back." He needed someone whose commitment to the mission was bigger than their own pride. Robinson took unimaginable abuse, not because he was weak, but because he was strong enough to master his ego for a cause that was so much bigger than himself. He showed the world that true strength isn't reacting, it's control.
When we fail, our ego begs us to enter what's called dead time. That's when we wallow, we get angry, we blame everyone else, and we just kind of sit there waiting for things to get better. But there's another choice. It's called alive time. That's when you take that failure, that setback, and you use it. You use it as an opportunity to learn, to reflect, to actively get better. Jackie Robinson didn't just survive the abuse, he used it to fuel his focus. That's the choice we all have.
So this brings it all together. Through the climb, the peak, and the fall, you're always faced with a choice. Who are you going to be? Are you going to let your ego run the show, or are you going to listen to something deeper, something stronger?
And this really is the core difference. Ego feels like confidence, but it's not. It's stolen confidence. It's fragile. It's a show. But humility, that's where true strength comes from. That's earned confidence, the kind that's been tested, that's gone through the fire, and it's rock hard.
And so, we come full circle, right back to that simple, powerful question. At every moment of your life, you're at that fork in the road. Will you focus on how you look or what you do?
Look, in the end, this isn't about destroying your ego entirely. It's about managing it. It's about keeping it in its place so that you can actually do the great work you're capable of. The real question isn't if you have an ego. We all do. The question is, who's in charge? You or it?